9mm versus 357 Magnum in snub nose revolvers. And what I have today is our Speer Gold Dot short barreled ammunition. Both of these are specifically short barreled loads. Our 357 Magnum is a 135 grain jacketed hollow point rated at 990 feet per second through a 2-inch vented barrel. Our 9mm is a 124 grain. It is a plus P, and it is rated at 1150 feet per second through a 3.5-inch barrel. But you know, short barreled loads I think are meant to perform a little bit better in shorter barrels, and we definitely have some short barrels here, being snub nose revolvers. For our 357 Magnum, I have our Taurus 605 with a 2-inch barrel, and for our 9mm+P, we have our Taurus 905 also with a 2-inch barrel. I recently picked up some TK Customs moon clips for this 9mm because, you know, the ones that came with this particular revolver didn't work very well. These seemed like they're quite a bit easier to load, so I'm curious about how well those will do. So we're going to go through the chronograph, see what kind of velocity and accuracy we get at the same time. Then I'm going to do our 10% clear ballistic test. So we're going to go into plain clear ballistics to see what the best potential of those cartridges are. No denim or anything like that in the way to clog a hollow point, because I want to get insured hollow point expansion to see what they'll look like in case we don't get hollow point expansion in our real world shots. So we're going to do plain clear ballistics, and then we'll do our real world simulation. 4 layers of sweatshirt material on this first 3-inch piece that represents our pectoral muscle. After that, a 1/4-inch medium density fiberboard to represent heads or ribs or sternum. That'll be our real world simulation. So we'll do a plain clear ballistic shot, then real world simulation, and then I'm going to shoot at the steel target to see what kind of practical accuracy I can get with these. So let's get started with this test. All right, first up we have our 357 Magnum. It's a 135 grain jacketed hollow point rated at 990 feet per second. I do find it kind of odd though, because it's rated through a 2-inch V barrel, which typically is a test barrel with the slit cut in it that includes the chamber, so that would only have a 1/2 inch of bullet travel. Doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, but we're rated at 990 feet per second. Let's see if I get my little 2-inch snub here. $1,074. $11.17. $10.84. $10.75. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You know, if there's only working with a 1/2 inch barrel travel versus 2 inches, you're going to get more. So not too bad overall. Our 9mm here, 124 grain plus P, rated at 1150 feet per second, but that's through a 3.5-inch pistol. Truth be told, if you actually look at the amount of travel you have in that barrel from the nose of that bullet there to the muzzle, that actually is pretty close to that. It might be something like 3.4 inches, something like that. So we might get close to that, but we're also going to deal with cylinder gap loss, gas loss. So let's see what we get. See how close we get to 1150 feet per second in our little snub here. 1180. 1171, 1153, 1165, 1125. So we did have kind of a weird low number on that last shot, but I am thoroughly impressed with this because I could just about guarantee if we use the standard one, it would be a lot less velocity than that. So it's optimized for a short barrel somehow. So let's hit our ballistics gel block, see how these compare. All right, our best potential shot in the plain clear ballistics. Hopefully we can get some hollow point expansion. 357 Magnum, let's see what this does. All right, let's hit that with our 9mm. Let's go take a look. All right, so to be honest here, there's not a huge amount of difference going on there. Our 357 on the bottom, our 9mm up on top, very similar amount of damage going through there. When you look at our first 3 inches, we actually seem like we have a little more energy dump with our 9mm than our 357 Magnum. That's very interesting. So when we look at our 357 Magnum, we have a whole bunch of damage in this first part here. We went to a penetration of 14 inches. No camera parallax will make it kind of look like it's an inch further up, but it's at 14 inches actually. Our 9mm, we're actually at 15 inches. So an inch more penetration, and we have bullet expansion with both of those. So both of those look really good. And the difference in the recoil, it's really kind of hard for me to tell. I'll take my next shot with our fabric and our rib simulation in there and see if I can get an idea what the felt recoil feels like, if there's a big difference there. All right, our real world simulation: 4 layers of cotton sweatshirt, 3 inches of clear ballistics to represent a pectoral muscle, a 1/4 inch medium density fiberboard to represent ribs or sternum, 357 Magnum. Let's see what this does. All right, let me set that back up and hit with the 9mm. All right, 9mm. Let's see if we get any difference here. Let's go take a look. And all right, like I said, I was going to tell you if there's a difference in recoil. It feels like there's just a tad more with our 357 Magnum and just a tad less with our 9mm, but they're very, very close. So looking at our medium density fiberboard here, huge difference. And this is kind of a typical thing I've always kind of thought about and debated and looked at through my testing. A lot of times revolver cartridges tend to open up quicker because they don't have to have a narrow hollow point nose for feeding. So what we got is our 357 Magnum dumping a ton of energy and expanding right away, as where our 9mm, it looks like it went through that without expanding and then expanded as it got into here. Big difference there. Energy dump in the first 3 inches, just a tad more with the 357, but both look pretty good. Now what we got going on with our 357 Magnum is we have really, really big, consistent, ideal expansion. We went to about 13.5 inches of penetration. Now when we look at our 9mm, it does look like there's more damage going in here, like it started to expand here after going through the rib simulation. And we went to 19 inches of penetration, so just a touch over penetrating, and the expansion doesn't look as good. But overall, I would say both of these did pretty well. It's really hard for me to tell you which one of these did better than the other. They both look like they did really good. Now, the 9mm penetrated more, some people might like that, but 357 Magnum expanded bigger, and some people might like that. So I would say both of these did pretty well. Honestly, when I look at a lot of the data I've looked at over the years, it does seem like rounds that expand out right away tend to have higher stopping power than ones that don't. But you know, it's all kind of subjective because you never know what's going to happen in a real world situation. So I'm going to take these out of the block. We'll take a close-up look at them, then we're going to shoot our steel, see what kind of practical accuracy I can get with these. All right, so here's a close-up look at these bullets, our 357 Magnum and our 9mm. These are the ones going through plain gel with no fabric or rib simulation in there. Both of them look pretty good. Here's our 357 Magnum. Really big expansion, looks really good. Our 9mm, again, really big expansion, not as big as the 357, I don't think. I haven't measured these yet, but from just looking at them, I would say that looks a little smaller. And gold dots are kind of a plated type bullet. That's why you have a jacket that looks the way it does, but it's a very thick plating and is essentially a bonding, so really good overall. Now when we go through our medium density fiberboard, things change up quite a bit here. Here is our 357 Magnum, and here's our 9mm. So they both have pretty good size, but our 357 is definitely expanded more consistently. Looks like it knew what it was doing there, going through that fabric and rib simulation. This is pretty typical for a gold dot. It gets a little smaller than our plain gel shot, You know, the MDF kind of shrinks it down a little bit. I think the denim makes that expansion a little bit less also. And our 9mm, you know, it's not very consistent and it went kind of deep, but I'll give it that it didn't over penetrate too much. And it did expand quite a bit here. So they're kind of equal in a way. This is more consistent, but it looks like this almost did a little more damage and went pretty deep in a straight line. Both of them are fantastic options though. I don't think you would do poorly with either of them. So that's a close-up look at those. All right, 12 yards from the target. I'm not going to back up from here, but what I want to see is what's the difference in recoil control between the 357 Magnum short barrel and our 9mm short barrel. I'm also going to do a reload with both of these and just kind of see if there's a huge difference. You know, with our 357 Magnum, I have a HKS speed loader, and with our 9mm, I have these TK custom moon clips. So I'm going to fire 5 shots, dump out what's in these, do a reload, see if there's a really big difference for shootability and ability to reload. And you know, I'm just having these in my pocket like I would just an average concealed carrier, not like on some belt rig or something. So 357 mag, let's see what this does for me. I went for a headshot on that last shot, missed that. That part was on me. Now, got our moon clip here, pocket. Let's see how our 9mm does. Alright, so I think the point of aim on these is different here. I aim a little bit lower. So I did notice that at 5 yards that we were starting to get some higher elevation on those shots than typical. Reloading, I didn't really see a huge difference there because once I dropped the moon clip in, it just felt like it wanted to wobble around just a little bit there, and not reload so good there. But looking at both of these here, the recoil, honestly, when I'm doing this, I couldn't really tell a difference there. I couldn't tell a difference really in our recoil. And our reload, I really can't necessarily say there's a huge benefit to having the moon clip. I mean, it wasn't faster for me. It might be faster for some people, and I also have to kind of worry about these things bending. As where this thing is a larger package, and a lot of people think that, you know, larger when it comes to having a reload is worse, but it's actually better because it makes the whole package bigger. And that's why reloading a semi-auto is easier, because there's less motor skills to grab that and reload it. And we have kind of the same thing with our speed loader. With our moon clip, you have to have these really fine motor skills to grab this little package, and you know, it's just kind of hard for me to do. So looking at this, looking at our terminal ballistics, very similar, except we have just, you know, a more controlled expansion with our 9mm and a little more penetration, as where our 357 Magnum dumped that energy a little bit quicker. So I can see a benefit to both of these. So I cannot call a winner and say one did better than the other in our revolvers here. But I am very much impressed, more impressed with the 9mm that we got, the velocities we got. Very good velocity. A lot better than a lot of 9mm through a short barrel. So I would say this 9mm makes it kind of a viable option for a little snub nose revolver. As where our 357, it's just more, you know, straightforward. It's a good cartridge overall. So both of them did pretty good. So that's what you get today. So as always, comment, share, and like, and thanks for watching.